2, 1. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand that online journalism is both an industry and a business, which also affect individual people, particularly those people who consume and enjoy the content, but also the lifeblood of the organization, those very reporters and individuals who they employ and actually send out to all other parts of the world to be able to cover the best stories. The biggest concern I have with the previous speaker's case is that it's not particularly nuanced to how online journalism really works, right? Meaning if you gut check how the New York Times is, how the Economist is, the harms which they accuse it of this weird, sketchy, social media-driven troll farm kind of thing, is far from it. Meaning, what actually allows these news agencies to pump out good and quality content is precisely because of their ability to be able to make money and offer it. That is to say, we question the problem they really have with monetization because if their problem is, people won't have access, it's unfair, we want to commodify it. We already have the commodification of it in status quo precisely because they can charge for it and they can afford giving some information for free. Meaning, the reason why you have some free articles and content on The Guardian, on The Economist, on the New York Times is precisely because the premium side of it, which is behind the paywall, the subscriptions and paid content, are able to justify and afford them giving stuff away for free. Meaning, they weren't able to respond with the pushback that my partner gave, who was also talking about traditional media. Because all of this media in the very complex society we have coexist. Meaning, if we want free media, go to the news, go to the cable TV, go to the radio waves, that's all fine and good. But where this debate lies, and the anchor point of our case, is in online journalism. Meaning if you want them to give occasional news stories for free on social media or on the websites, they need to be able to afford it. Because as what my partner also mentioned, there is so much legwork and operational cost to be able to do it. Meaning, it's on-site government where the reach and quality actually fall. And if they're saying that there are some nefarious bad actors, it's exactly where they're able to take over. Because uniquely, monetization in and of itself is a capitalist incentive structure and check and balance against the harms they accuse it of. How does that work? If you're a rich guy or a nepotistic guy from a political dynasty, and you have levers of control over a news agency or outlet, online journalism like Rappler, like The Economist, like the New York Times, serve as a means to decentralize information and become a check and balance against traditional media. Something I acknowledge, sure, bad guys and rich people might have control over, but if you don't allow these people to earn from it, what incentive do they have to actually do well? That's why Rappler really had to charge for some premium content in order for them to be able to allow Maria Ressa, etc., to actually do things like be able to hold these scary guys accountable. My extension thus far is quite simple. A couple of things. Number one, how this actually preserves the prestige and role of the organization that allows them to be able to give accessibility and even compete with other traditional news agencies. So this is an extension about accessibility and reach and innovation to directly respond to their point about corruption. The second thing I'm going to forward is this idea about how on the comparative, even if you have other ways to make money, number one, that can coexist, and number two, it makes it more difficult for them when you stifle a huge part of their income. First part of the extension, we think that it's not just about quality, right? Because their side tries to dismiss it and say, oh yeah, quality declines, but we're able to have wider reach. What the fuck's the point of that, right? Because the point in which you have poor quality is the point in which people aren't gonna listen to you. You won't have any effect. But as a journalist, both as a business And as an individual, you want to work in a reputable organization that allows you to go to Syria, allows you to go to Ukraine, allows you to explore all the underserved parts of the world. That can only happen if they can afford your salary, afford your flight, afford your security, which is a function of monetization that can only happen when they allow some parts of their services, not all, to be behind the paywall. Because they also might say, Joseph, it's not a lot of revenue, it's so small. We reject that premise. We tell you it's so much because you have thousands of finance bros and economists who have to pay to those subscriptions to be able to get ahead of the curve and be able to do their businesses properly. The second point is that in order for us to compete against those corrupt incumbent guys is exactly where we need the medium, for instance, to be able to exist and give free content to particular people as a function of them being able to monetize a part of their business model. Second part of the extension, about the idea of other alternatives. My first layer of response is that more is better. On our side, it's not outcome dependent on the state, on the government, on altruism, and we can actually make it more sustainable. Their side is outcome and path dependent on being able to get money from the government, from the state, from rich people. On our side, the comparative and delta is clear. We're able to bootstrap and create an incentive structure for us to be able to do this sustainably. The second thing I have to say is that it wouldn't hurt to have more money, especially in an inflationary environment where the costs of doing business and traveling is so expensive. Meaning, if we want to flip their metric on accessibility and on reach, which we agree on, you need to be able to allow them the ability to be able to charge for this content like what they do in status quo in order for it to be palatable and accessible for the average person. So, if you want it to be sustainable for the business, good for the reporter who gets paid, and serve the very people who you want to reach to democratize and decentralize access to information, you need a capitalist incentive structure through monetization to make it work. We are very proud to stand on side negative. Thank you.